Hey, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. You are in the right place. I'm just still celebrating the IU Hoosiers win over the Oregon Ducks. So
Shh.
we're all excited. I hear you, Kim. I hear you.
Bill, we can't say that too loud. We'll have people around here upset.
There you go. Turn your volume up.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. We're IU is like 2 miles that way from me.
Oh,
So
nice.
we're all in we're all excited about it. We're excited to see what happens Monday night down in Miami. So
Oh, I bet. I bet. We've got
it
a little football fantasy stuff going on here too, so
really
it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
it'll be good. It'll be good.
It
It'll be
will.
fun to watch
It
for
will
sure.
be.
They had it's interesting. They had like yesterday at 5 p.m. they advertised free tickets to the stadium for a watch party to the basketball stadium or the basketball arena, right? For a watch party, and the arena holds like I don't know 35,000 people.
Ooh,
It was sold out by 11 p.m. It was completely there's none.
holy cow.
So it's just a watch party.
That's
So
crazy. But that
yeah,
tells you how many people are backing that team.
exactly. Yeah,
That is incredible.
yeah. So anyhow, hey, it's good to see everybody. We'll give everybody a few more minutes to pop in here. Happy New Year. I can't believe we're saying Happy New Year. It seems like just yesterday it was Christmas. It's just nuts.
It's going quick.
It is going quick. It is going quick. So I don't know. I don't know. That's how it goes. We just don't know. Things just keep on going, whether we want them to or not. Let me get my presentation up here. All right, Larry, it's good to see you. Haven't seen you for a while. Matt, Sarah, good to see you guys.
Morning.
Yeah, I
Morning.
haven't seen you guys since the last time I saw you. Man,
Yeah.
Paul,
Happy
good to
New
see you
Year.
back. Yeah, James, everybody's here. Yeah,
Doing it.
nice crowd. Cool. All right, well, we can go ahead and get started. I'm sure some more people will be filtering in. So I'm on my own today. Usually Afton is with me. She had a previous engagement in sunny Florida, I think. So we'll miss her today, but I think I can make this work without her. So today, I want to talk about a new framework. It's not new. It's a framework that's been around a while, but it's kind of something that I've been embracing and want to kind of talk about it and see how we can work it into the continuity of day-to-day business. And it's not necessarily a ConnectWise thing, but at the same time, we can set ConnectWise up to help us achieve the goals of the continuity. So real quick, for those of you that are new here, Focus Planet is a company I started back in 2013, and the focus of what I wanted to do was just provide help for MSPs in any way I could, right? Just to be a resource to help set up ConnectWise, to help with sales, to help with finance, to help with service delivery projects or anything like that. So that's what we've done. The company has been around for a little while. We've been in the industry for a while. I created it after I sold my MSP, and so that's what we do. And we'll be your ConnectWise administrator. We'll help you get things squared away in your ConnectWise if things aren't operating properly and things like that, and help your team learn it. One of the big things that I like to do is to get out of the house and go to an MSP's office and do a whiteboard workshop that explains just how ConnectWise is engineered to operate in your business, and it helps everybody identify their roles with using ConnectWise and how it impacts the other team members. And it also uncovers a lot of areas for improvement, a lot of opportunities there to improve. One thing I do want to point out, we are on YouTube, youtube.com @Focus Planet. All of the, like today's webinar and all of our other webinars that have been recorded are out there on that YouTube channel. Go out, hit it up. If you would, subscribe to it. And I'm, trying to build that subscription list, right? So if you would, go ahead and subscribe to it, and we'll try to keep good content coming to you all year long. Upcoming events. So as a lot of you know, I go to Chartec quite a bit. I have a room of my own out there. It's the Focus Planet Fishbowl, where we can get in there and talk and just do all kinds of, conference type meeting things. And so the Chartec Academy is coming up February 18th and 19th. There's also an operations workshop on the 19th and 20th, hosted by Dan Martin. So if you have a chance to go to the Academy, there's the link. Go out there, and it's not easy to get to Bakersfield, but it's worth the trip. It's really a nice, not just business. There's a lot of good content, but it's a nice social event as well. It's always good to go out there. So that's pretty much it with the housekeeping. So we'll dig right into today's topic. So the whole idea is to stop firefighting, right? And we all know we could stop firefighting, and at the same time, firefighting is still going to happen. But the whole idea is just to take a step back and take a look at a framework here that any business can use. Doesn't have to be an MSP. Any business can use this framework, and it's just a kind of a structure that that again, I started looking at it a few years ago and embracing it, and it seems to work really well. So we'll get into that. It's the AC/DC model, and a lot of MSPs are, by raise of hands, how many MSPs are planning for growth this year, right? Just about everybody. That's the whole point. And the thing about growth is they have to scale as well. And so if you have a specific plan and you want to throw it in the chat, if you have anything like specific, then throw it in the chat, and we could talk about it in our discussion phase at the end of the thing. So the thing about growth is that, if you do have more clients, it kind of increases complexity because every client's a little bit different. Some clients are more different than others, gotta say that. And then sometimes we get in and we get more tools in, and the additional tools add chaos. I've been in instances where there are some great tools, but they haven't been fully implemented, integrated, trained and used by the team and things like that. So another thing about growth is that as you hire new people, there are more knowledge gaps, and these knowledge gaps are painful, to say the least, at times. So just a little bit of a stage there. So let's see here. I lost my way. So yeah, the real problem, growth is good, but growth also adds pressure. So more clients, more hires, more tools, more complexity. And without systems in place, the complexity breaks things. And so what we're going to talk about is how to start engaging some systems that will help keep things from being too chaotic. So without these systems in place, we don't want, we got to look for leads that are going to fall through the cracks. There's no consistent leads. Sales handoffs, they kind of get a little messy. Onboarding is inconsistent. Service delivery is messy. Invoicing gets delayed. We all go through these things as we grow, and this is where we're having that real problem occur. So what a system will give you, obviously, is repeatability, visibility, scalability, predictability. Everybody knows what a system will give you. The challenge is getting the systems in place. That's the real challenge. I'm not telling you anything new as it relates to systems. So with the With systems, you've got, everything proactive, everything repeatable. You've got clear roles, documented workflows, and visibility across the business because you know that everybody's working their part of the system and everything's streamlined. Without systems, you can see we've got, reactive, inconsistent handoffs, bottlenecks, slow billing and cash flow because nobody knows really what to invoice. So if you want to think about it or even show your hands, does your business fall on the left side or does your business fall on the right side? Or do you have a little bit of both? That's the thing. And yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, I think a lot of businesses have a little bit of both. What we're talking about here is the AC/DC model. And hold on just a second, I need a sip. Amy, it's not what you think it is. It's not the Weller. So what the AC/DC model is a very simple concept. It breaks the business down into 4 stages. These are just core stages, that you can think about. We'll walk through each stage today. And a lot of times when I'm having conversations with people and I'm making notes, I'll draw out the 4 stages on my notepad, AC/DC, and I'll identify when we're having conversations, I'll identify where that problem is. Is it in A, C, D or C? So A is attract, obviously. We want lead generation. We want to get the right people in to be interested in our products and services. So it all starts with the attract phase. Then you can kind of see the linear progress of AC/DC as we talk through it. So some of the key elements we're talking about here, SEO, obviously. SEO is a big thing. You got to make your business visible. You kind of have to make some noise. Now, the evolution of SEO is, as everybody knows, AI SEO. So with SEO, we're using keywords to search. So, a keyword search might be MSP, Seattle, Washington, or IT services, Chicago, Illinois, right? Whereas AI SEO is an evolution. It's going to shift from being keywords to phrases, short phrases. So instead of saying, IT help Chicago, Illinois, it's going to say, my computers are a mess and I'm trying to figure out the best way to get them fixed, or whatever that person types into their chat or into their chat GPT. So with AI SEO, it's an evolution there. So we've got a lot of marketing teams starting to look at, how can we build our presence with AI instead of, or in addition to just standard SEO. Obviously, there's also social media presence. So, again, building relationships with social media, showcasing your brand, and obviously your personality as well. So, when we look at social media analytics, the social media that gets the most likes or the social media that gets the most attention is the social media that is about people and not about business. So, the Christmas parties or the outings and stuff like that, those seem to get more analytics or more likes and more attention than just like a business message or something like that. With content marketing, going back again to the AI SEO, it's going to depend more and more on content marketing than standard SEO did. With SEO that we're used to seeing, it's more like we're going to write an article and we're going to make sure we get all these buzzwords into that article. But with content marketing now with AI, it's a little bit of a different approach. So in an upcoming webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about that and talk about what marketing looks like now with, with AI. There's also paid advertising that obviously that you would, you use some strategic placement of ads, and you can use some geo-fenced ads, or you can do, the electronic billboards and things like that. So a lot of good ways to, place your paid advertising out there. So one of the things about Attract that I always want to bring up is it's better to have 10 highly interested prospects than 100 casual browsers, right? So you want to attract quality over quantity. And there's some unique ways that you can think about what your what your client, what you want to see in a client and stuff like that. So any questions about Attract? Okay. So the next phase is convert. And so once you've attracted somebody in, obviously you want to convert them into a client. But before you get them into being a client, your focus needs to be more on converting into the next concrete action, right? So once you've attracted them, you want to get an appointment. You want to get an introduction. That's the key here. You don't want to make them a client right away. You just want to get an introduction to where you can start talking to them about their business. You know, obviously prospects aren't really always looking for a proposal. They're just looking for confidence in what you do, some clarity and reduced risk, right? So when you start having those conversations, they're going to first build, that confidence in what you do first. So the challenge then is to make sure that, you fully understand what their problem is. And we could talk for days, as you know, we could talk for days and weeks about sales. But the biggest thing is once you attract that lead, then you want to focus on understanding their problem, reflect it back to them, so that they know that they've been heard. And some, if you think about some of the clearest proposals, basically just describe the pain that this client is experiencing, and then the prospect would say something like, "Yeah, I think they really get us," because they feel like they've been heard. They've got that pain reflected back to them. The other thing about converting is, there's so many different variables, and the other thing I think about is, when you go out and you start having these conversations with prospects, do you convey to the prospect that you actually have a solid plan for them? Prospects want to see a clear, logical approach. They don't want to hear buzzwords. They don't want to hear about tools that you're using. They want to know what happens first, what happens next, what success looks like, and things like that. So a simple, confident plan, will get you farther than most. Again, the other thing, what's included, what's not, what are the details, all that. So when you're talking about converting, the term, if you're too vague with anything, that feels risky to them. So they just want good proposals, a good plan, and in plain language. So another thing for convert, when you're doing the proposal, is to kind of walk them through what the onboarding is going to look like. And last year we talked about onboarding quite a bit. It's very important to keep onboarding consistent with that sale. So you have to make sure that with the sales conversation, that whoever's having that conversation understands what onboarding looks like. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit more in depth with onboarding after the sale. So I think that if you put yourself in the psychology of the prospect, if your proposal walks them through what that onboarding looks like, I think it gives them a more confident, comfortable level of trust. because they know, okay, I'm going to sign this, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and so on and so forth down the road. So yeah. And then how the conversation as well has to include how that's going to affect their people. So a lot of times I would tell clients, we're gonna make some changes, some of which may be uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, this is what's going to happen, and you're going to have a better system than what you have now, and this is what it's going to take to fix these problems. So decision makers always think about the disruption in the company. So is it going to create more problems? Is it going to create more tickets? Who are they going to blame? Is the decision maker going to get blamed because this isn't working now or whatever, right? So the key here is just be open, honest, upfront, and make sure that you hear everything that they're saying and address it. So we don't want to have any surprises for them. Just and that includes things that could go wrong, that probably will go wrong temporarily, that you're going to fix. So that's the biggest thing, is just make sure that communication is always open, and tell them the good, the bad, the ugly, and the plan, the schedule. So another thing that's important is, maybe bring it up with the prospect as to why they should trust you specifically. So this is kind of an experience thing. When we talk about this process, we're going to have, at the end of the day, we're going to have some testimonials, but we're also going to have more authenticity with the conversations that we're having than just the generic testimonials that we're going to throw out on the website. So, just carry with you like some lessons learned, brief examples and things like that. So again, what happens after we sign? Just keep them in that mindset of, yeah, everything's going to be okay. This is what's going to happen. This is what you can expect, and so on and so forth. If you get through all those conversations, then eventually you get to the price, and and then that price, that's a whole different conversation about pricing, and we won't go into that today. But in a lot of cases, just keep in mind, they're not always shopping for the cheapest option. So just keep that in mind. And we basically just want to make their life easier. So a lot of information, a lot of stuff we talked about here with the convert part of things. And so we talked about attract, got our lead in the door. Now we talked about convert. And finally, we wanted the convert obviously to be, they're signing the deal. And once they sign the deal, then the next step is D for deliver. So in the deliver phase, we want to make sure that the decision maker and the client overall, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable that choosing your business was the right decision. And this is one of those key inflection points where MSPs sometimes unintentionally break that trust. So the sales very confident, the advertising, the marketing is very confident, the sale was very confident, everything looks great, and then if delivery feels kind of reactive and improvised, then you're starting to erode that trust a little bit. So if you've been in my whiteboard workshops, we talk about the sales handoff, and there's more to that than just a simple sales handoff meeting. We can get into that a little bit here. Aligning that delivery with onboarding and making sure that what you talked about with the prospect is actually what's happening is so crucial in your business. And so if sales isn't talking to service delivery, then you want to make sure that you fix that. That's a gap that really needs to be addressed. If you don't have individual sales and service delivery and things like that, then what I might suggest is to keep in mind when you talk with your prospects, that you keep in mind exactly how you're going to do that onboarding yourself, right? So if you're a single MSP or a small MSP with just a couple of techs, you've got to keep in mind how you're going to do that and make sure that it's consistent with that conversation you had before the sale. So it's consistent quality. You meet or you exceed those standards every time. You got to make sure that customer experience is always smooth and professional, right? As much as possible. So, and one of the key ways is to keep people informed, right? So you could say, hey, I know when we talked about doing this, but I found that in your system, we got to do this a little bit differently. So it's a communication thing. Keep them informed, keep them feeling valued in the process. So, and then anytime you do have a challenge that upsets the normal rhythm of onboarding, talking to them and turn those challenges into opportunities, that helps demonstrate, a different layer of excellence, right, for you. So that customer loyalty really gets engaged during the onboarding when you're delivering. The one thing that I found helps is when you think about delivery, again, we're talking about sales, talking with service delivery, and it doesn't always happen that way, but we've got to get everybody on the same page. It's helpful to kind of walk through that onboarding and delivery before you ever create the proposal, before you ever talk about the proposal. You've got that delivery, that onboarding all set up, and to the point to where the person that's doing the sale really understands what's happening with onboarding before that deal ever closes. I've seen where onboarding gets invented after the deal closes, and it's never going to match what was sold, especially if sales really wasn't up to speed on what that looks like. So, if you have a sales management situation here, sales should only be allowed to sell what delivery or the service delivery team has agreed to. So if service delivery agrees, I can execute this onboarding plan 100% of the time, or a simple variation of it, then sales can be allowed to sell it. Otherwise, every sale can't be, you can't guarantee every sale, right? Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Anybody? Bueller? No? Okay, good. So we gotta make sure we have a defined onboarding process. Again, we stressed this a lot last year. We're going to stress it again this year. That onboarding process with steps and ownership. We talked about the RASI model a little bit last year. We're going to get into that a little bit deeper this year. We got to know the steps involved. We got to know the owners, the timelines, the outcomes, things like that. So before the quoting ever happens, we want to have that in place. We want that proposal to describe what that onboarding experience is going to look like, not just the services that we're providing. So again, we're working with the psychology of the buyer, and we're making sure that that buyer is going to say, yeah, I'm comfortable with this because I see what's going to happen next. So, a lot of times the buyers are looking at, what does the next 30 to 90 days look like, more so than the long-term agreement, because it's going to affect them, that much. So make sure that we know exactly what's going to happen after the signature and after we get paid, and what happens next. So sales and service delivery also have to agree on a mutual criteria of what done looks like, what that onboarding, what the completion criteria. So if we say, if sales says, well, I think this is complete when this firewall is installed, then that means that's complete. Well, service delivery says, no, it's not complete until the firewall is installed. We've got VPN tunnels set up and we've got whatever, right? So making sure everybody's on the same page with understanding what is complete is crucial to this. So again, back to the handoff. It's got to be a process. Yes, it's a meeting. Handoff is a meeting, sales handoff. But a meeting by itself just transfers opinions and not necessarily certainty. So a structured handoff is, you know, a checklist, some sort of documentation that what was promised and is going to be delivered. We want to talk about any kind of assumptions that were made, any kind of risks that are existing, and make sure that anything that's out of scope is communicated and visible, you know, to everybody in writing. And that's sometimes challenging to do in the fast-paced world, but it really pays off if you ever get to the end of it and you're like, you know, somebody's pointing fingers about what went wrong. So also onboarding shouldn't necessarily, I mean, it could be obviously there are administrative functions to onboarding, but it's the first, you know, if you think about it, when you're talking about service delivery, onboarding is that first promise that service delivery is going to do for the client. It's going to set the tone for the entire relationship. So if onboarding goes bad, obviously that new client is going to carry that around for a while. You know, there's going to be a lot of skepticism about other areas of service delivery down the road. So we want to make sure what we talked about in the sales conversation is exactly what was you know, delivered as described. Last year we talked a lot, you know, and at the whiteboard workshops we really go into the feedback loop process. And so when we're talking about onboarding, we're talking about the sales handoff, we're talking about sales conversations, it's important to keep these feedback loops in place to resolve anything that doesn't go as smoothly as possible. So, for example, if you look at it, service delivery should surface anything that was sold, any gaps between what was sold and what was delivered. So, if you know, if your sales team's out there selling something and you know the service team cannot deliver that, and it comes up, then we need to make sure to address that right now before the sales team has another conversation. So the feedback loop, it's got to be short, it's got to be intentional. And the thing to keep in mind is that it's not really as blame, it's more of informational thing, right? This is you know, you need to alter your sales message, or we need to you know, change this or change that, and having this short and intentional feedback loop is how we get the alignment improved over time. So yeah, and again, what we're measuring here is alignment with AC/DC. We're measuring alignment, not necessarily completion. So finishing onboarding on time isn't necessarily enough, because what you really want to do is go back and make sure and measure, you know, in your post-mortem of the onboarding project, you want to go back and measure whether onboarding actually matched the expectations. See if we have, you know, any confusion there. See if your conversation as the service delivery team, see if your conversation with customer differed from the sales conversation with the customer. You talk to the customer about that, they'll tell you. They'll say, well, sales told me this, and you're doing that, and you know, we all see it. So we want delivery to reinforce sales. We want the D in delivery to reinforce the C in convert. And again, it's for alignment. It's not necessarily there to undermine anybody. It's for your entire alignment of your process. Any questions about deliver? And we're going to go deeper into these throughout the year. So, okay. So naturally, this is the place where AC/DC comes full circle. And we want to make sure not to lose momentum. So for our accounting teams in the group, in the room, this is your part, right? A lot of this is your part. So collect, C is for collect, right? And so collect isn't just about getting paid. It's about getting paid, yes, very important. But it's also about collecting proof that the promises made in A, C, and D actually delivered value. So we're not just collecting money here, we're also collecting feedback. And I don't know who's going to collect feedback in your team. I've seen marketing collect feedback. I've seen sales management collect feedback. I've seen service delivery collect feedback and report back. So anybody can collect feedback. Feedback needs to be reviewed. You've got to get these valuable insights from your end users as well as your client decision makers. So the feedback's going to say, it's going to say, hey, did we do what we said we were going to do? And that's, really the key to making sure that you've gone full loop here with the AC/DC process. You gotta measure, what happened. You can use something like Smileback or whatever to get your feedback there, but then you can also use QBRs and your post-project. The account manager or the salesperson takes the client to lunch and talks about how things went or how things are going, right? So those kind of feedback loops are very important to make sure that you can come back and plug in any gaps in the AC/DC process to make sure that it gets better next time. You're continuously improving. So again, it's about predictability. Here's the thing about going back to collect from the accounting perspective. When you're presenting a professional image to your clients, collecting payment is about predictability, right? It's not just about cash flow. But if you think about it, if your billing is clean and timely and it matches what was sold, it reinforces trust. If you go all the way through AC/DC and you get through the A perfectly and you get through the C perfectly, you get through the D perfectly, and then you got accounting going in and saying, hey, Mr. Customer, what's going on here? And why isn't, what should I be billing you for this? And yada, yada, yada. Then that's where you're breaking down, right? So it's not a complete process, a complete loop. So we want to make sure that from the very beginning, what we advertised, what we marketed is what we're billing for, right? So we want to match what was sold, and that's going to reinforce trust with the client. We don't want any inconsistent invoices. We don't want any surprise charges. We don't want any manual cleanup or hey, can you whatever. We want to make sure that we don't send the message that things are chaotic behind the scenes. So the goal of collect from an accounting perspective is we want billing to be boring, right? Just boring. It's billing. So, and I can tell you that it's not always boring. So. The thing about payment is if things come out as promised from a payment perspective, it reinforces the alignment. So if you do have clients that are questioning invoices, it's pointing to somewhere that's out of alignment, right? It's something somewhere that's not aligned, that hasn't been communicated. Either the scope's unclear, or onboarding didn't match expectations, or the communication broke down somewhere. So the thing to think about is, treat billing friction, friction as feedback. So it's not just an accounting issue, it's feedback for you to say, oh wait, something's wrong here. We gotta figure out why this happened and not do it again. And so that collect part of things is where reality really shows up. That also with collect, we talked about feedback. So feedback should be intentional and lightweight. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just ask a simple question and or send the surveys out. Having surveys are great. Surveys are great, but I think having conversations is greater. I think it's going to give you more value and give you a really good, solid feel for how things are going. So the feedback that you're getting from clients is going to feed back into into attract. It's going to feed back into convert. So if you think about it, you get feedback that somebody didn't get what they felt they were supposed to be getting, or they didn't understand that what was advertised isn't really what they have. Then we know we need to change the marketing a little bit, in the sales. So. And keep in mind, all these KPIs for feedback and whatever, they need to be tracking outcomes, not activity. So, as we look at things, our ticket stabilizing, is there, do we still have a lot of noise? Is the noise decreasing any? Are escalations more clear? Is that client becoming quieter? Things like that. So the other thing to keep in mind, we talked about a little bit about testimonials and things. If you're going to get a success story from a client, the time to get it is while the value is still fresh in their mind. So right after onboarding, or if you have an early win of some sort, have a conversation, get a quick quote from them, a quick story, some sort of testimonial, and permission to publish that. So, the thing about it is that they're happy. They made a decision. They were unsure about the decision, although they did feel some trust. They saw the system happen and they saw everything come through correctly and just as advertised and as discussed. And so they're feeling really good. And that's, you want to keep that good feeling through the entire engagement, obviously, but while it's still fresh in their mind, how they feel is really good to capture for that testimonial. So this is where this collect part of things is where this trust really starts compounding. Just like compounded interest. They see clean invoices, they see clear metrics, they see conversation, and they can start relaxing then, and when they start relaxing, that's when you get referrals and renewals and upsells and things like that. So it's just, and we're all the same, right? So if you put yourself in the shoes of a client and it's a local business, you have the same, we all have the same thing. I see advertisements for a Subway sandwich, and I start thinking about a Subway sandwich, and there's a Subway shop just over the hill. And I go ask for that sandwich I just saw on the advertisement. And I get the sandwich exactly as advertised. And it's like, man, feel good about that. So yeah, I guess you guys probably know what I'm going to have for lunch today. So again, make collect, make it a system, not a scramble. We want from payments to feedback, look at your payment processor and see how difficult it is to use. That's why we switched to alternative payments. We want a better way for payments to process. We want to make sure we get feedback on individual tickets, and that's why we have Smileback. And the conversations we have with everybody, we want to make sure that you're always comfortable with the decision, to work with us. So, all right, that's ACDC. We're going to attract, convert, deliver, and collect. Anybody have any questions or anything yet? All right, so we're going to talk about where we break down. So this is where we see the breakdown. I really like this graphic. Afton made this for me, and I really like how it how it looks. But um, this is where we see things break down, right? And I'm not it's a general. This is a general thing, not anybody specific. But and this is where, incidentally, when I looked at this graphic and I started thinking about it, when I had my MSP, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. I did that. I was like, yeah, a lot of room for improvement in my setup. I didn't know about ACDC back then, but a lot of room for improvement. Usually MSPs will start strong in the A part of things. People in marketing do a fantastic job of marketing. Fantastic. When I started working with Hive marketing, I wanted to see graphics and things right away. And Amy Cinnamon took me through and said, no, before we do any of that stuff, I got to understand what the heck is that you do. So she did a great job of uncovering what we do and how we do it, and things like that. And so when we rebranded, she was able to do some effective marketing by understanding fully what we do. So marketing is really good about that. It's really good about understanding what we do and doing the attract. Marketing can get into the details. Marketing can, we talked about AI SEO. If you think about it, if you go into your marketing and you start listing out what your onboarding looks like, then AI SEO is going to pick that up and say, okay, this is how this company onboards, the other company is just advertising. So marketing can get into those details, but you want to make sure that whatever marketing puts out is in alignment with the service delivery. So marketing paints a confident picture. It's aspirational, obviously a little bit aspirational, right? Not so much operational, but the story's always good. We want to make sure that it's grounded in what delivery can execute, though. This is where we see things go a little bit off the rails from the attract part of this conversation, is that, marketing is very aspirational. They'll do a great job. But it's not necessarily grounded in what you can deliver. So we want to make sure that is consistent. Another struggle is in the convert part of things. And so James, Jersey Mike's. Unfortunately, I don't have a Jersey Mike's over the hill. So I just saw that. So yeah, convert. I'm not calling out sales guys. The sales and business development role is one of the most challenging roles out there. One of the biggest challenges is where, how can I put this? When you're in sales, when you're trying to convert that lead, clarity sometimes gives way to urgency. It's like, I want to close this. I want to close this. They're hot. It's a hot lead. And sometimes you don't take the time to step back and make sure that you're providing them with the clarity they need. And we see where deals close before the expectations are fully communicated. We see where deals close where the scope isn't, it's like close enough. Close enough. Good enough for who it's for, right? So where exclusions are implied or discussed in a conversation instead of stated on that document. So what happens there is that then you're taking, instead of having that conversation with the client up front with the convert, you're taking that information and now you're putting pressure on the service delivery team to try to deliver what the client heard from you that wasn't communicated fully, and you could see, I talk about the teeter-totter, right? If you apply pressure here, it's going to apply pressure there, right? You can see where if you imply something with the client, service delivery is trying to figure it out, then it's a problem, right? This is where that misalignment happens. And again, delivery, man, it's, if we think about it, if that clarity is not there in the convert part of things, then service delivery is there to try to interpret what was said or interpret what's vague on that statement of work. So handoffs then are relying on conversations instead of actual structure. So, and what we find there is that, oh, wow, we don't have an onboarding process. It's rebuilt for every single client. And then what happens is, okay, the onboarding process is rebuilt for every single client. So therefore, you got somebody out there on the team that has to come in with some heroics in order to get things done and hide those systematic problems, to keep the frustration from happening. So, and then we finally see it in collect in the C part of things. When that reality shows up, man, it's all about, I always tell people, whatever you put in ConnectWise ends up in finance. And this is the same with the sales process. If you don't get things right in the convert part of things, it's going to end up in finance. And this is where reality really shows up. Invoices get questions, your margins get eroded because you didn't put enough hours or whatever in the project. Feedback is inconsistent, and you don't get any success stories out of that. It becomes then an attitude problem. So just keep in mind what is said in attract is not protected in convert. This is the breakdown. This is what happens. What's said in contract is not protected in convert. What's sold in convert is not enforced in deliver, and what is delivered in deliver is not measured correctly in collect. And because collect doesn't feed back into attract, the same mistakes repeat. So you've got to make sure that what is said in attract is enforced in convert or protected in convert, and then what is said in convert gets delivered, and then what gets delivered gets collected, and then any feedback has to go back into attract. You got to keep the loop going, right? You got to keep the alignment in place. Most MSPs don't have a sales problem or a service delivery problem or a finance problem. What they have is an alignment problem. And so AC/DC works when each stage reinforces the next. And when those breakdowns are feedback, not failure, right? So good news is you don't have to fix everything at once. So when attract, convert, deliver, and collect reinforce each other, the business is going to scale naturally. When they don't, we just continue to multiply chaos. So the first step here is to identify the weakest link, not necessarily the most painful problem. So, we're MSPs, we try to fix what's loud. What's the noisiest ticket gets fixed first sometimes, or angry client, or, things like that. But with the business process, what AC/DC does is help identify, the real source, what's going on. So, for example, if invoices are being questioned, where's the problem? It's probably in convert or deliver. If onboarding is chaotic, it's probably in convert. If we're getting the wrong clients in, then we need to think about our message with attract. So once you identify that weakest stage, then we can build just enough structure to stabilize it. Not perfection, just consistency. One piece at a time. One documented process. One checklist. One shared definition of what done is. So we need to, small wins, immediate relief, without overwhelming the team. So it doesn't need to be a huge initiative. It just needs to be consistent. So, and by doing that, you're improving one stage, the rest of the business keeps running. You're not stopping sales to fix delivery. You're not rebuilding the whole billing stack while you're onboarding, is broken and things like that. So you're protecting that forward momentum while you're tightening the alignment in other areas. So when you do talk about fixing these things, when you improve convert, ask how it impacts or protects delivery. When you improve deliver, how does it simplify collect? When you improve collect, how does it strengthen attract? And just keep that going. Just keep the team focused on the system, not just the individual task. And so that helps. If you think about it now, if you follow this framework, Shangri-La is sales becomes easier because delivery is always predictable. Delivery becomes calmer because the expectations are clear. Billing becomes boring because the scope and products and everything is understood. And then marketing becomes sharper because success stories are real at this point. So if you don't know where to start, give me a call. Let's get on a meeting. And we can walk. I've got a little bit of a decision matrix that we can walk through, and we can help get you started. If you need some help putting this structure together with your team, again, it's not ConnectWise. This is more of a business strategy thing, business consulting thing. If you need help doing it, I got time. Just reach out to me, and we can start putting some stuff together. So, any questions or discussion about this? Anybody? Nope. Nothing. All right. Well, I think we're up to our time limit here. I'm gonna go get a Subway, and if you guys need anything at all, just reach out to us. It's bill@focusplanet.com, sales@focusplanet.com, focus@focusplanet.com. Just send me an email. And again, go to our YouTube channel @FocusPlanet and subscribe. And I will look forward to talking to you again in February, if not before then. Thanks, everybody. Go IU.
Thanks.